Now, you know what I'm about to say. My typical dishonest disclaimer. I like to start off my videos by saying, this video is not going to be that long. It shouldn't be more than, 45 minutes. And then over 50% of the time, my videos go past 45 minutes. Sometimes they go past an hour, excuse me. Finish off one can. On to my second can. Okay, first announcement. If you're a Patreon subscriber of mine, I'm doing a Patreon exclusive live stream today, Thursday, July 5th at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I'm doing, normally for my Patreon subscribers, I do at least 2. There's been some months I've done as many as 3 Patreon exclusive live streams, and there was even one month I did 4. Yeah. There was one month I did as many as 4. I think it was either January or February. I can't remember. It was one of those 2 months. Either January or February, I actually did 4 Patreon live streams. And to say that's the most I've ever done. My average, though, is 2. My average is 2. I usually do 1 Patreon live stream for my $5 subscribers and up, those who have pledged a minimum of $5 and up. And then I do a second live stream for those who have pledged $10 and up. $10 and up. So yeah, I do a minimum of 2 Patreon exclusive. So the 2 I'm going to do this month, the month of July, is going to be today, is going to be for my $5 and up. And 2 weeks from today, which will be July 19th, I will be doing a Patreon exclusive for my $10 and up. $10 and up. Speaking of this month, the month of July, I think I announced this 2 or 3 videos ago. I'm going to be indulging in another brief hiatus, something I've only done once before, because most months I've done a combination of Patreon exclusive content, but I've still done YouTube videos for the general public. But if you remember, in the month of May, 2 months ago, the month of May, I went on a 4-week hiatus from YouTube. I didn't do any videos that were free for the general public. Yeah, I went the first 4 weeks of May without doing any free YouTube videos. But I did do 2 videos on May 29th and May 30th. May 29th and May 30th. So I did do 2 videos in the month of May. But the first 4 weeks, I didn't do any videos. This month, the last 3 weeks of this month, I'm not doing any videos. Free videos. Excuse me. Burp number 1. So yeah, starting with July 10th, which means I got 5 more days to do free videos, which would be including today, July 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Yeah. Including today, I only got 5 more days to do whatever free videos I decide to do. But beginning with July 10th through July 3rd, July 10th through July 31st, I'm not doing any free videos on YouTube. And that might, I'm not sure right now, but that might extend to the first 2 to 3 weeks of August. And the primary reason why is because I have a lot of one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions coming up this month and next month. Yeah, both. Matter of fact, these are 2 of my busiest months for my one-on-one coaching. I think I mentioned that before. Yeah, if I had to highlight probably my top 5, top 6 busiest months for one-on-one face-to-face coaching, it would be December, January, February, and June, July, and August. Yeah. I mean, I've done some in the other 6 months too, here and there, but starting with 2010 up until now, yeah, the top 6 months I do one-on-one face-to-face coaching is December, January, February, June, July, and August. That's when I do a lot of one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions. I do some of my one-on-one face-to-face coaching here in the Chicago area where the client comes to me. And then I do other one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions where I travel to the city of the client, either the city the client lives in or a city that we mutually agree upon that's like kind of a neutral city. For example, in late December of last year, I worked with, 3 clients? Was it 2 or 3? I think 3 clients. I worked with 3 clients in Las Vegas. And one of the 3 clients, he lived in Las Vegas, but the other 2 clients, they traveled there from other cities. Yeah, there was one client who lived in Vegas, and the other 2, they traveled there from other cities. That was the last week of December, that week in between Christmas and New Year's. I was in Vegas doing one-on-one. And then if you remember, Memorial Day weekend, I worked with 2 clients in Miami. In the same situation, one of the 2 clients, he lived in Miami, but the other client, he traveled there from another city. He lived somewhere else, and he traveled there. So, yeah, so I got a mixture coming up. I got some clients that are going to be coming to me in the Chicago area, and then I have some clients I'm going to be traveling to either the city they live in or a city that we mutually agreed upon. So anyway, that's the main reason why I'm doing my YouTube hiatus is because I'm gonna still provide Patreon exclusive content and videos and live streams. So my Patreon subscribers, yes, I will still be paying attention to you throughout the entire course of the month, as well as the month of August. But for my YouTube videos, yeah, you guys will have to suffer. Speaking of YouTube videos, now I had some of my loyal listeners, and it was nothing serious. It was more lighthearted. But they said, Alan, we noticed you spent like 2 or 3 of your last few videos emphasizing a response or rebuttal to that other YouTube podcaster affectionately known as the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper. And they said, why do you choose to spend so much time offering responses and rebuttals to the Grim Reaper? Well, the reason being, well, first of all, again, I want to point out, like I did in my very last video, and I'm going to point out again, I didn't give him the nickname, the Grim Reaper. He gave himself that nickname. See, like he's giving me at least one nickname that he came up with out of his own mind. Like his number 1 nickname for me is the King of Filibuster. He calls me the King of Filibuster, which doesn't make any sense. Because he says, if anybody knows the definition of a filibuster, number 1, that applies to political assemblies. That applies to legislative assemblies. And to filibuster someone means to extend a debate in order to delay a vote. Extend a debate in order to delay a vote. That's what it means to filibuster someone. So if you're a senator or you're a member of the House of Representatives and the Legislative Assembly is ready to vote on a law or vote on a bill or whatever, and you keep trying to extend the debate, the discussion and debate centering around this bill or law or whatever, in order to delay the vote, that means you're filibuster. This is the Grim Reaper's definition of filibuster. He says anyone who avoids engaging in the discussion or debate with him is filibustering, which makes no sense at all. Again, to filibuster someone means to not only to engage in a debate, but to extend the debate. Extend it. Whereas his definition of filibustering is essentially running away from a debate. It makes no intellectual sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. But anyway, yeah, that's his nickname for me. He calls me the king of filibustering. I don't run away from debates. I don't. And I would dare anybody to prove otherwise. I don't run away from debates. Now, there's some discussions of debates I just simply have no interest in engaging in, no motivation to engage in. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a point of that. Hold on tight. In this very video, I'm going to make a point of that. There's some discussions of debates I have no interest. But there's a difference between not having an interest in engaging in a discussion or debate or having no motivation to engage in a discussion or debate versus being afraid to engage in a discussion or debate. Like, I'll give a quick example. Let's say a friend of mine had a debate about who's the best hockey player of all time. I ain't going to engage in that debate because I don't love hockey like that. Hockey is not that interesting to me. So I would never engage in a debate about who's the best hockey player of all time because I really don't give a fuck. Now, I would engage in a debate about who's the best NBA player of all time or who's the best NFL player of all time because those are two sports I'm genuinely interested in. But hockey, I don't give a fuck about hockey. So if a friend of mine was to say, oh, Alan, why don't you want to engage in a debate about who's the best hockey player? Are you scared? Are you scared? Huh? Are you scared to engage in this debate? Why would I be scared? I just have no interest in that shit. So that's point number one. There's a difference between not having an interest in a particular subject matter to discuss or debate versus being afraid of engaging in a discussion or debate about that topic. But anyway, yeah, he gave himself the nickname the Grim Reaper. And I'm going to play that clip again so we can all be reminded. Again, I played it in the last video, but I'm going to play it once again. This is a clip where he called himself the Grim Reaper.
You will die in a pool of your own fucking excrement fucking with me. I am the Grim Reaper up in this motherfucking bitch.
Now, you know what's interesting about that clip? The Grim Reaper said, when the last time he interviewed me, his explanation for calling himself the Grim Reaper, he said the Grim Reaper doesn't cause harm or cause death to people. He just makes himself present once it comes time for you to die. But he doesn't initiate death or do anything himself to cause that. Actually, that's not 100% true. Because I did my research after he said that. It can actually be both. Go on Wikipedia, matter of fact, right now. Go on Wikipedia and look up the Grim Reaper and see if I'm lying. If you look at the explanations for the Wikipedia description and definition of the Grim Reaper, it said the Grim Reaper can do both. In some cases, he just shows up when a person is about to die. So in that sense, the Grim Reaper would be right. He doesn't cause death, but it said in certain other cultures and ideologies regarding the Grim Reaper phenomenon suggest that sometimes the Grim Reaper does cause death. But if you listen to this statement, this sounds like someone who wants to cause people harm, because he said, I will make you choke on a pool of your own excrement if you fuck with me. If you fuck with me. That's like saying, I will cause harm to you if you fuck with me, if you make me mad. Let's play it one more time.
You will die in a pool of your own fucking excrement fucking with me. I am the Grim Reaper up in this motherfucking bitch.
See? Did you hear that? He said, you will die in a pool of your own excrement fucking with me. Fucking with me. Come on, man. Come on. That doesn't sound like somebody who's just going to stand around and wait for somebody to die and be like, do, I'm waiting for you to die. I'm waiting for you to die. No, that sounds like somebody who wants to contribute to that person's death. You will die in a pool of your own excrement fucking with me. That's the key words. Fucking with me. I am the Grim Reaper. Anyway, my original point was I had a few of my supporters who I love and adore. Some were male, some were female. And they both wrote me publicly and privately, and they said, why are you spending time talking about the Grim Reaper Like a couple of them pointed out something my brother said. My brother has this saying. This was my brother saying in regards to Grim Reaper and really anybody, haters and critics. His philosophy is never turn a mosquito into a rhinoceros. I actually like that. That's a clever thing that my brother said. He says, never turn a mosquito into a rhinoceros. And specifically in regards to Grim Reaper, he said that, as well as a few other my YouTube haters. He said, man, the more you talk about him, the more you're allowing what should be a mosquito to become a rhinoceros in your world. You don't ever want to turn a mosquito into a rhinoceros in your world. Now, in my partial defense, mosquitoes can be irritating as hell. I think all of us who've lived in a city that had a lot of mosquitoes, man, when they buzzing around your ear or they keep hitting your arm and you tap and they so quick they miss your tap. Don't you hate that when you like slapping your arm all over the place and that mosquito still like buzzing around, buzzing, you like hitting all over the place? Even if you spray off, they still find a way to be in your space. Yeah, that, figuratively speaking, that is how I kind of look at the Grim Reaper, man. He's like a really pesky mosquito. Man, matter of fact, what's interesting about that, he's called himself that. Not a mosquito, but a pest. He's actually referred to himself as a professional pest. Yeah, he is. He's like a pesky mosquito. But anyway, what I told these listeners and supporters, and this goes back to my distinction between my free videos and my Patreon exclusive videos. And see, it's funny. I had one Patreon subscriber, man. I'm not going to say his first name, but he's a young guy. He's like in his early 20s, Caucasian guy. And he said, Alan, I figured you out. I said, how did you figure me out? He said, you try to act like you don't like being involved in beefs and back and forth drama with other YouTube podcasters. But he said, deep down, yes, you do. And I didn't necessarily 100% disagree with him, but I didn't 100% agree with him either. So I said, okay, explain, elaborate. And he basically said something though that I've said myself. He said, if you didn't engage in any type of beefs with people or back and forth drama with people, you wouldn't really have any content for your free videos. He said you would have nothing left but just pure advice-driven videos. And he said, knowing what I know about you, you don't want to do pure advice-driven videos for free. You want to limit those to Patreon, your Patreon subscribers. And I said, oh yeah. I said, I agree with that. I said, I've said that myself. So yeah, that is the truth. So I wouldn't go as far as to say I love drama or I love being involved in beefs, because I genuinely don't. But if I was to say that more or less the consolation prize of being involved in some of these beefs with other YouTubers and back and forth, retorts and whatnot, is yeah, he's right. It does. It gives me content for my free videos. Because I don't like to do pure advice-driven videos for free. I don't. I did initially. If you remember when I first got on YouTube, I did. For like my first, I want to say my first roughly 3 months on YouTube, I used to do a lot of just purely advice-driven videos for free. The first person who advised me against that, well, actually, technically, it was my brother. My brother was the first one, I would say, to say, why are you doing that? The first person on YouTube to say that was a brother I don't really speak to that much anymore. Not that I would say I have any particular beef with him, but we just don't speak to each other too much anymore. But a podcaster named BGS Itmore. BGS Itmore was the first person on YouTube. He wrote me, he said, Alan, why are you doing all these advice-driven videos for free, man? He said, you're giving away a lot of, gold and platinum level knowledge, wisdom, and insight for free. He was basically like, I wouldn't do that, man. You need to charge for that shit. And then a few other people after him said that. So yeah, starting with mid to late June of last year is when I start really getting involved with my Patreon page. Because if you remember, starting with April all the way up until mid to late June, I really didn't do a lot of Patreon exclusive videos. I didn't start doing Patreon exclusive videos until about mid to late June of last summer. And so, yeah, if you want to watch videos that have no drama involved, no back and forth beef with other YouTubers involved, no lengthy rants or rambles involved, just what I would call purely advice-driven videos where I just am dropping helpful knowledge, wisdom, and insight on how to improve yourself with women, then you got to be a Patreon subscriber. But yeah, 90% of the purpose for my free videos is for the purpose of offering responses and rebuttals to what I call my haters and harsh critics, and just some of the people who comment in my comment section in general, who might not necessarily be a hater or critic, but they might say something interesting in my comment section that I might want to offer a response or rebuttal to. So yeah, that's 90% of the reason why I do free videos. Otherwise, I would never do free videos. I would just do Patreon exclusive videos literally for the next 2, 3, 4, 5+ years. So yeah, you could say all that to say that the Grim Reaper, if nothing else, if he doesn't do anything else for me to benefit me, he gives me ammunition and content for some of my free YouTube videos. Yeah, I'm gonna get to him in a second. What else did I want to under announcements? Okay, I already announced I got a Patreon exclusive live stream today at 4:00 p.m. Eastern. I'm not going to be doing any free videos for the last 3 weeks of July. I got a number of one-on-one, face-to-face coaching sessions coming up. Oh, speaking of people commenting with comments, now this was a totally lighthearted comment, so it was nothing real serious. But somebody came in my comment section and said, Alan, something to the effect of, Alan, it looks like you live in a nice studio apartment. Yeah, I think he said, you look good with that pimp hat on in your studio apartment. Now again, it was totally lighthearted, but that was mildly insulting to me. I mean, look at this room behind me. This is the room I'm in right now is my home office. What about this looks like a studio apartment? What about my home office resembles a studio apartment? For those of you young people, most people know what a studio apartment is. Even most young people know. But for those few people that might be ignorant, a studio apartment is an apartment that has no separate bedroom to it. Like literally your bed, your living room and your bedroom and your kitchen are essentially the same room. Like there's no division. Like I've lived in a studio apartment before. Like when I was in college, there was at least 1 year when I was in college, I lived in a studio apartment, or what some people call an efficiency apartment. That's the alternative name for it, efficiency apartment. Yeah, a studio apartment or efficiency apartment is when everything, with the possible exception of the bathroom, is in one big room. Again, like it's just kind of one big rectangle or one big square, and that makes up your living room, your bedroom, and your kitchen. Your living room, bedroom, kitchen is all in the same room. The only room that might be a little bit separate is your bathroom. Like when I lived in a studio apartment in college, my bathroom, that was the one room that was somewhat separate. But everything else was in the same room. I think college is the only time I lived in a studio. Yeah, as an adult, I've never lived in a studio apartment. The smallest I've lived in is I've lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. Most of my apartments have been 2-bedroom apartments. Most of my apartments have been 2-bedroom apartments. I usually turn 1 bedroom into, since I don't have a wife or children, I always convert one of my bedrooms into a home office, which is what this room is. This is a home office. Yeah, so no. All that to say, no, I don't live in no studio apartment. Shoot, you gonna make me want to brag about my income, and I don't even like to do that, man. But shoot, trust me. Again, I know your comment was 100% lighthearted, but I'm making way too much money to live in no fucking studio. Shoot. I'm making enough money right now. I could buy a house if I wanted to. And that's real talk. I could be living in a house if I wanted to, but I have no desire to live in a house. I told friends, because I used to live in a house just a few years ago. What? As recently as the first half of 2012, I lived in a house. To me, it makes, I know some bachelors choose to live in houses and more power to them, but to me, it makes no sense to live in a house if you're a bachelor. That's just my opinion. Like, I know a lot of professional athletes and celebrities will be bachelors and they'll have a nice big ass house, big mansion type house. I have no desire to live in a house as a bachelor. The only time I would ever live in a house again is if I was married and had at least one child, if not more children. That's the only way I would purchase a house. But as a bachelor, I see no reason to live in a house. I see no reason to live in a house. The closest I would come to living in a house would maybe be a townhouse. That's probably the next step under a house would be living in a 2-story townhouse. And which I could afford if I wanted to right now. Elmer Currie made some nice paper in 2017. Believe that. I got to throw that out there. I made some nice money. Shoot. Matter of fact, just early this year, I decided against it, but I was about to buy a Porsche, man. Shoot, I was about to buy a Porsche 911. Any other interesting comments I received? Okay. So yeah, now that you know why I do bring up the Grim Reaper, if nothing else, if I ain't got nothing else to talk about or nobody else to address, he loves to give me content. He loves to give me content. Here goes another one. Now, we just covered some stuff he gave me in my very last video. In the last video, to recap, he did a live stream and one of his, associates suggested that I harshly admonish black men more than I do non-black men, which I proved in my last video. That's not true. Even specifically here on YouTube. Well, yeah, on YouTube, yeah, I would probably say that is true. Well, the reason why I do it on YouTube is because that's the main guys who come after me. And that's what I pointed out in my last video. I go after whoever comes after me. So if 95% of the guys who come after me on YouTube are black guys, of course that's all I'm going to go after is black guys. Now, if 75% of the guys who are trying to attack me or criticize me or insult me or disparage my books were white guys, I would be going after them. But I don't have that many white guys that have come after me on YouTube. Now, I've had white guys that have come after me on various message boards and discussion forums, which I pointed out in my last video. But as far as specifically here on YouTube, I would say at most maybe 10 to 15% of the haters and critics I've had here on YouTube have been non-black guys. I'd say on average probably about 80 to 85% of the guys who have been my harshest critics and haters here on YouTube have been black men. Excuse me. Zevia, baby. Love Zevia. Damn. Shit's good. Best, again, I call it the best sugar-free soda pop ever invented. Seriously. They're not paying me money to say that. I'm saying that on my own. Zevia is the best sugar-free soda pop, in my opinion, I've ever had in my life. Okay, so that was the last video. Now here's the latest one. Here's the latest commentary by the Grim Reaper. Oh, one other reason, I'm going to give one other explanation for why I tend to address other YouTubers, including the Grim Reaper. Because I have a lot of followers, for better or for worse, and bless their hearts. I guess they call themselves trying to look out for me. But a lot of times when I hear people talking about me, I don't actually hear it initially myself. Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't. Sometimes followers will send me links or audio clips of people saying shit about me. So that's what happens sometimes. I'll get an email from one of my followers and they'll say, hey, Alan, I don't know if you know, but the Grim Reaper is over at his channel talking about you. And sometimes they'll either include a link of the podcast or they'll even record a audio clip excerpt and send it to me. So that's how a lot of times, I would say probably 50 to 60% of the time, I actually will be the one to hear what that other YouTuber said about me myself. And then I say another 40, 50% of the time, I have followers and supporters who send me links and or audio clips of shit that's said about me. Here's the most recent thing that the Grim Reaper said about me that I found interesting.
Me and Alan Roger Currie got into a shouting match because he kept making excuses for female behavior. And the reason why he keeps doing it is because he has an unusual experience as a man, which is very early sexual success with women. Very few men have that. That is statistically unusual, statistically speaking. Don't take my word for it. Jordan Peterson talks about this.
Now, he said two things in that comment of interest. One, he said the reason why, because if you remember, he interviewed me twice actually on his live stream channel. And at the very end of our second interview, yeah, I wouldn't say as much we got into the shouting match as much as I would say he got into a shouting match with me. Now, ultimately, I did respond at the same level of volume that he was directing towards me, but I didn't initiate the shouting match. He initiated the shouting match. To recap that, and I already talked about that in at least 2 or 3 videos already, what happened was we had roughly a 2-hour interview, and believe it or not, for about, I'd say out of the roughly 2 hours, it might have been 2 hours and 5 minutes. But for the first hour and 50 minutes or hour and 55 minutes, it was actually, for the most part, what I would call a cordial interview. I mean, we had philosophical disagreements in the interview, but we didn't end up yelling at each other or shouting at each other. It was, for the most part, a decent discussion. Things went left in literally just the last roughly 8 to 10 minutes of the interview. That's when things went left. And here's how it started. Now, he says in that comment that the thing that caused the interview to go left was he said he got tired of me making excuses for black women's undesirable behavior. Insert dog face here. The Grim Reaper is a blatant liar. That's a blatant lie. That is a blatant lie. And I guarantee you, anybody who listened to that live stream when he was interviewing me will back me up on it. Anybody. Matter of fact, his moderator, Nagone, I'm going to call you out. You were there. You were an ear witness, not an eyewitness, an ear witness. You were an ear witness to how things transpired. Nagone, I'm going to call you out, man. I challenge you to say that he's telling the truth. Because you were there. You were moderating the discussion. That ain't what caused the Grim Reaper to start yelling at me, was because he claims I was offering excuses and justifications for black women's undesirable behavior. I'm going to get to that in a second because I never do that. What made the thing go left is I said black female fuckery is your thing. I said you should feel free to talk about that on your channel as much as you want to. But I said the problem I have with you is that you seem to want me and other black men on YouTube to emphasize black female fuckery to the same degree that you do. And I said, I, for one, am not willing to do that. I said, black female fuckery, that's your mantra, not mine. That's your shit, not mine. Right after I said that, man, That motherfucker went the fuck off. And here, once again, I played it in the very last video, but I'm playing. This is when he went off.
Stop! 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 Stop!
Obsidian!
Stop!
Obsidian!
That's your mantra!
KRCD!
Yo! Yo! Stop! Stop! Stop!
Yo!
Stop!
Yo!
What?
Yo, hold it down! Yo, Obsidian!
Did you hear me? If you were listening closely, and I might play it once again, did you hear me? While he was yelling at me, you could hear me say, "That's your mantra, motherfucker." That's exactly what I said. I said, "That's your mantra, motherfucker." Because that's what I said that set him off. Again, he claims that what set him off was he heard me. I was offering excuses and justifications for black women's undesirable behavior. That's not the truth. At the time he started yelling at me, I simply said, black female fuckery is your thing. And you're free to talk about that on your channel. But I said, don't try to make me feel obligated to talk about that on my channel. I said, I don't want to talk about that shit. I have no interest in talking about that shit on my channel. And then all of a sudden he starts saying,
Stop! 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 Stop!
Obsidian!
Stop!
Obsidian!
That's your mantra!
KRCD!
Yo! Yo! Stop! Stop! Stop!
Yo!
Stop!
Yo!
What?
Yo, hold it down! Yo, Obsidian!
see, again, did you hear me say that? I said, that's your mantra, motherfucker. Why would I say that if I was talking about black women? Why would I say that's your mantra, motherfucker? That don't even make sense. Why would I, if at the time he was going off with me, I was offering excuses and justifications for black women's undesirable behavior. Why would I make the comment, that's your mantra, motherfucker? Why would I say that? That wouldn't even make sense. Let's go back to his original comment, because I'm going to address this. This allegation that I make excuses for black women's undesirable behavior.
Me and Alan Roger Currie got into a shouting match because he kept making excuses for female behavior. And the reason why he keeps doing it is because he has an unusual experience as a man, which is very early sexual success with women. Very few men have that. That is statistically unusual, statistically speaking. Don't take my word for it. Jordan Peterson talks about this.
I find that funny. He said, don't take my word for it. Jordan Peterson talks about this. It's like he was implying, hey, whatever Jordan Peterson says is the gospel truth. If you don't believe me, go to Jordan Peterson, because everything Jordan Peterson says is valid and significant and worthy of co-signing with. Insert dog face here. Now, I'm not going to necessarily say anything that's disparaging of Jordan Peterson, but I'm generally familiar with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is should be considered no reference authority to do with dating and relationships and male-female sexual dynamics. This motherfucker endorses enforced monogamy. If I find an article, I'll put it in the comment section. Jordan Peterson actually believes that men and women should be forced to be engaged in strictly monogamous relationships and marriages with each other. Now, Jordan Peterson, he's not even black, but he's gonna warrant me saying this. Nigga, please spare me with that stupid shit like that's gonna ever work. Get the fuck out of here. So Jordan Peterson lost all credibility with me suggesting that stupid shit, enforced monogamy, like that will ever work. Man, get the fuck out of here. Men and women are going to always indulge in promiscuous and or polyamorous behavior when they feel like it. Trust me. Even if you legally ban promiscuity, motherfuckers going to find a way to indulge in promiscuous and polyamorous behavior. You can't legislate human sexual behavior. Human sexual behavior is what it is. That's the problem with human beings compared to animals. They try to legislate and they try to intellectualize human sexual behavior. People gonna fuck who they want to fuck, man. That's one thing I learned early. Speaking of the Grim Reaper talking about, I had an unusual teenagehood because I started fucking early. Now, here's what's interesting about that. He might be right. There might be some worldwide statistic that says most men don't start fucking until they're 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, 29, 30. But where I come from, which was Gary, Indiana, I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana. Man, I had male friends of mine who was fucking before me. Like, I had at least a dozen of my male friends who was fucking in middle school. They was fucking and getting their dick sucked in middle school. Middle school. I didn't have my first sexual interaction with a woman until the summer before my freshman year in high school. That was my first sexual interaction with a woman. But I knew guys who were fucking like in the 7th grade. Like if I had to call out one friend by name, I mentioned him in my book. This is the only reason I'm mentioning him by name because we were kind of partners in crime at one point. Is a guy I graduated from high school with. He's passed away. He passed away in 2016. Bless his soul, bless his heart. He was a dear friend of mine. His name was Carlton. Carlton, if you've read or listened to the audiobook version of Who Said Again, I actually mentioned Carlton once or twice in my book. Yeah. Me and him, we used to fuck a lot of women together, man. I got him a lot of pussy. He got me a share of pussy. That was my boy. That was my dog. I used to call him my partner in crime. But yeah, Carlton, man. Carlton he was getting his dick sucked and fucking when he was like in the 7th grade, man. He was the first one who used to talk about sex with me. Of all my friends who used to talk to me about sex, because most of my friends in middle school, they would talk to me about comic books. Carlton was probably my one friend who used to talk about fucking when we was in middle school, man. Middle school. He used to be telling me, yeah, man, so-and-so, man, she sucked my dick on our lunch hour. I'd be like, what? He was like, yeah, man, she sucked my dick. Yeah, Carlton was having like threesomes before he even graduated from high school. I didn't even have that type of shit. I didn't have my first threesome with 2 women until I was in college. Carlton, he had a threesome with 2 women when he was in high school. So anyway, all that to say that I had friends who made me feel like I was behind the 8th ball. But I do have some friends, other friends who didn't start fucking for the first time until they graduated from high school. They were in college. Yeah, I can think of at least a handful of my male friends from high school. They didn't lose their virginity until about a year or 2 after they graduated from high school. But yeah, I was fucking in high school. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't do that much fucking my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. My freshman, sophomore, junior year was actually very limited. It might have been, 1 or 2 women each year. The main year I exploded was you've heard me mention my infamous senior year in high school. My senior year was the year I was cleaning up. My senior in high school, man, I was fucking a lot of women my senior in high school. A lot of girls. Yeah. I fucked a lot of girls my senior year. Yeah, I fucked definitely more women my senior in high school than I did my freshman, sophomore, and junior year combined easily. Yeah, I had my pick of the litter my senior year. So, yeah, he says I was unusual because I started fucking so many women at an early age. Yeah, I would kind of say yes and no. Again, if you're talking about worldwide statistics, that's probably true. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of guys I knew, particularly guys who were like star athletes, those are probably the number one guys I knew. That a lot of those type of guys when I was in high school was fucking. Almost all the guys who were like star basketball players in the city, star football players, track and field stars, all of them was fucking. All of them was doing quite. Matter of fact, I'm going to toot my horn here. I'm going to rub some balls. But speaking of that, I wasn't a star athlete my senior year. I didn't play any varsity sports my junior, senior year, although I wanted to. I tried out for the basketball team twice, both my junior and senior year, but I didn't make it. But I remember there was this star basketball player. He went to another school in Gary, Indiana, and we were at a party together my senior year. And I introduced myself to him because I didn't really know him. And we were standing next to each other at this party. I said, "What's up, man? I'm Alan Currie." I didn't use my middle name at that time. I just used to go by Alan Currie. And he said, "Oh, I know you." And I kind of mildly surprised me, even though I knew I had a certain degree of popularity around the city. But I was at least a little bit surprised. He said, because he was a big time, he was like a star basketball player. He was known by everybody in the city. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I know who you are, Alan Currie." And I said, "Why you say it like that?" He said, "Man," he said, you kind of tripped me out. I said, "Why do I trip you out?" He said, "Man, no offense to you, man, but you ain't no star hooper." Hooper meaning basketball player. He said, "You ain't no star hooper. And from what I know, you're not no star football player." Basically, he was like, "You ain't no star jock." He said, "But man, the girls at my school talk about you all the time, man. Like you got like a fan club at my school." I said, "Yeah, I've had some women that have told me that." He said, "Seriously, dude?" He said, "A lot of girls in my high school be talking about you. That's all I hear. Alan Currie this, Alan Currie that, Alan Currie, Alan Currie, Alan Currie." He said, "Man, he said, you could fuck a lot of chicks at my high school." I said, "Trust me, I already have." And we both started laughing. But if I had to toot my horn to a degree, I probably got more pussy than just about any guy in the city of Gary that was not a star athlete. Because the only guys I can think of that got as much or more pussy than me were guys that were either star basketball players, star football players, or some kind of other celebrated athlete. But as far as non-athlete guys, there might have been one or two other guys in the city of Gary that might have got as much pussy as I did who weren't star athletes, but that would be it. So yeah, I would say at most, I was maybe only one of two or three guys in the city of Gary, Indiana that was not a star athlete that was just cleaning up when it came to pussy. But okay, now the main thing I want to address is this first comment he made. He said that during my interview with him that I offered excuses and justifications for black women's unders. I've never done that. Never, ever, 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 ever. And I dare anybody to prove otherwise. I dare anybody to prove otherwise. I dare you to. I dare you to write an article. Highlight an article I've written. Highlight some commentary from one of my YouTube videos, my old Blog Talk Radio episodes. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. What I do with people's behavior, this applies to both men and women and black people and white people. I will offer a motivational analysis for people's behavior. That's different. I will offer a motivation. If you remember just a couple weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I mentioned that the number one way to get a good read on people, to basically get a feel for what type of person, what type of individual person is to analyze their motivations, is to basically answer the question, why do they do the things they do? Why do they say the things they say? Sometimes I can prove that certain people have a certain motivation to do the things they do and say certain things that they say. And other times it's more of what I would call a speculative assessment or analysis, meaning that I don't have concrete evidence that this is the exact reason why they do, but I'm proposing that this is the reason why they do what they do and say what they say. It's just like when there's a murder trial. Anytime there's a murder trial, the first thing the lead homicide detective does and the prosecuting attorney does is they look for a motive. They look for a motive for why the murderer killed their victim. That's the first thing they look for. They try to identify, why did this person kill this person? What was their motivation for doing that? Because there's always, with a sane person, there's always a motivation for why they kill somebody. It could be revenge. The person stole money from them. The person betrayed them. The person killed one of their friends or relatives, whatever. They were robbing a bank and that person got in the way. There's always a motivation. The only time there's really no concrete motivation for somebody murdering somebody is when somebody is considered clinically insane, what's known as a homicidal maniac. Like, if you're familiar with comic books, and specifically the Batman series, the Joker was created and written to be a homicidal maniac, meaning that he just kills people because he's crazy as fuck. He enjoys killing people just for sport. He's what's known as a homicidal maniac. He's insane. He's an insane individual. As a matter of fact, speaking of legal trials, there's an excuse for that. Sometimes you can get off on a murder rap if your defense attorney is able to prove that you were experiencing what's known as temporary insanity. Temporary insanity. There's been cases where they'll say this person is not guilty of murder by virtue of temporary insanity. Matter of fact, let me look that up. Yeah, that's the one time you can get off for murdering someone, and instead of going to prison, they commit you to a mental institution. Like going back to the Batman, Arkham Asylum is a mental institution within the comic strip of the Batman. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Okay, yeah, it's on Wikipedia. I'll put it in the comments section. There's a defense called the insanity defense, and what's also known as the mental disorder defense. Yeah, that argues, when you go with that defense, you're arguing that the defendant is not responsible for his or her actions due to psychiatric disease at the time of the criminal act. Psychiatric disease. In other words, they're saying that person did not consciously know what they were doing. They did not consciously know what they were doing. They were so mentally disturbed and mentally unstable, emotionally unstable, that they did not consciously know what they were doing. Now, it's funny, speaking of this, and speaking of the Grim Reaper, and his charge that I'm making excuses for black women, that's what the Grim Reaper does with Elliot Rodger and all these other incel-oriented mass murderers like George Sodini and Alec Manassian. He argues that they were not consciously aware that they were killing these people, that they only killed these people because they were mentally insane. Then that would mean that if Elliot Rodger was still alive, if he didn't kill himself, that he would be eligible for the insanity defense. Like Alec Manassian up in Toronto, he's still alive. So that would mean he's eligible for the insanity defense. If he's not eligible for the insanity defense, then that means he knew what the fuck he was doing. That means he knew what the fuck he was doing. And see, I argue this. I don't disagree with the fact that Elliot Rodger might have been to one degree or another mentally ill. I think he was mentally ill to one degree or another, but I still believe that one of his primary motivations for killing people was he had a hatred of women, and he had a hatred of men who were popular with women. He had a hatred of women, and he had a hatred of men who were popular with women. All you got to do is read his fucking manifesto. I read it twice. That motherfucker hated women who weren't giving him no pussy, and he hated men who did have an easy time getting pussy. So you can argue all day that motherfucker was mentally ill and all that shit. That motherfucker knew what he was doing. That motherfucker knew what he was doing. But going back to black women, I've never offered excuses or justifications. I've never excused a woman for exhibiting bad behavior. Never, ever. Again, the only thing I do tend to do two things when it comes to discussing women, as far as women who do bad behavior. Number one, I'll offer, again, motivational analysis for women's behavior. I'll offer what I think is their motivation. I'll give you an example. I mentioned this once or twice before. One time I was part of this panel on a New York radio show, talk radio show. the woman who hosted the show, she was actually had been a guest on my Blog Talk Radio show, and she invited me to be a panelist. She had this discussion on her talk radio show in New York about why women cheat. And it was interesting. I was the only non-credentialed panelist she had. Like the other three panelists, it was one other man and two women. All of them had a PhD in psychiatry and or psychology. Like one was a psychologist and the other two were psychiatrists. I was the only person on the panel who didn't have any like highfalutin academic credentials. I'm just a regular, lowly dating coach. But yet, guess what the host of the show said? The one panelist who had the least credentials, she told me after the show, she said, Alan, you had the best analysis of any of my four panelists. And she said, I find it interesting given the fact that you don't have any credentials behind your name. But she said, because this is what all of them try. This is under the category of making excuses. All the other three panelists, they tried to justify women for cheating. Like they offered reasons like, well, women cheat because their husbands have made them lonely. And women cheat because their husbands don't give them enough romantic attention. And then their husbands work too much. Their husbands are workaholics or their husbands are, just unattentive to their needs. Insert doll face here. Man, I basically came on that radio show. I said, that's some bullshit. I told all three of those parents, I said, that's some bullshit. The main reason why women cheat on their husbands, fiancés, or boyfriends is because of one or two reasons. There's only two reasons why women cheat on their husbands, fiancés, or boyfriends. Number one is they really weren't physically and sexually attracted to their husband, fiancé, or boyfriend to begin with. That's number one reason, is they weren't really physically or sexually attracted to their husband, fiancé, or boyfriend to begin with. I point that out in my book, two of my books. I point that out in The Possibility of Sex, and particularly in part 2 of the book, and I point that out in a couple of my chapters in the Beta Male Revolution. There's a lot of women who will hook up with guys that they're not physically or sexually attracted to. I told y'all one story. There was this one woman I used to fuck. She was a graduate student at UCLA when I lived in Los Angeles. I used to fuck her. And found out like roughly the third time I fucked her. The first two times I fucked her, I actually thought she was single because she never mentioned that she was in a relationship. And then the third time I fucked her, she had a ring on. And I was like, wait a minute, you married? And she had this look like, oh shit, I meant to take this off. And she ended up confessing to me that she was engaged to be married. And without getting into all the details again, she was engaged to some like nerdy dude who was into computer software. He was earning like $900,000 a year. And he was a white guy. She was white. She was Caucasian. Her fiance was Caucasian. Not only did she tell me that she was not really physically and sexually attracted to her fiance, she took it a step further. She said, honestly, I'm not even really into white guys. I was like, what? Are you serious? She's like, yeah, I'm not sexually attracted to white guys. She said, I like black men. And of course, my obvious question was, well, then why are you marrying him? And she gave me a look like, are you stupid? Why else you think I'm marrying him? She was basically like this. And that was one of the first times I really, even before that incident, I knew there were materialistic women in the world. So it wasn't like I was totally naive. But that was the one interaction with a woman that really brought it home to me that women will marry a guy that they're not even remotely physically or sexually attracted to. Because she basically went on to tell me, she said, the only reason I'm marrying this motherfucker is because he's offering me long-term financial security. Like she was driving, I mentioned that I was interested in buying a Porsche earlier this year. She was driving a Porsche 911 Cabriolet that her fiance had bought for her. Man. And yeah, but she told me straight up, she said, I'm not even sexually attracted. I said, so every time you have sex with him, you basically faking it. She's like, yeah. She's like, I try to create reasons why I don't have sex with him so that I don't have to have sex with him as regularly as he wants to. And she said the times I do have sex with him, I'm just waiting for it to be over. I try to make him come as quick as possible so it can be over. I was like, damn. I was like, that's fucked up. I told her straight, I said, that's fucked up. But she was real. I appreciate her realness. She went on to tell me, she said, Alan, you're naive if you don't think a lot of women don't marry men strictly because of their career success and financial success. She was like, you would have to be a naive idiot to not realize that that's one of the reasons why women hook up with men. So anyway, going back to this New York radio show, I said there's two reasons why women cheat on men. I already explained one. One is because the woman wasn't really physically or sexually attracted to her husband, fiance, or boyfriend to begin with. She's with that guy primarily because of his non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, and because of his financial and materialistic resources. The second time that women would cheat on a guy is when a woman starts off being physically and sexually attracted to her husband, fiance, or boyfriend, but over a period of months and years, her husband, fiance, or boyfriend just gets lazy. For example, he lets himself gain like 50 to 100 pounds. He starts eating poorly, and basically his poor eating habits and poor exercise habits begin to negatively affect his sex drive. That happens to a lot of men. If you become just a lazy motherfucker and you don't eat right and you don't exercise, at some point that's going to negatively affect your sex drive, man. That's going to negatively affect your sex drive. And that's the second reason why I said that women will cheat on a man is when their husband, fiance, boyfriend is no longer able to perform up to that woman's standards in the bedroom. He started off being able to perform up to her standards, but he's gotten to a place where he no longer can. And she doesn't want to just flat out leave him because usually they have kids together. And anyway, the host of that show, she ended up telling me, she said, Alan, you gave the best analysis of why women cheat. She said, I'm a woman and I agree with everything you said. I agree with everything you said. So that was a perfect example of a time, the difference where you could distinguish between offering excuses versus offering a motivational analysis. Those other three panelists, they were offering excuses and what they felt were valid justifications for women cheating. Whereas what I offered was what I refer to as a motivational analysis for why women cheat. I didn't offer an excuse. See, when you offer an excuse, what you're basically doing is you're excusing people's sense of personal responsibility and accountability. That's what you're doing when you offer an excuse for people. Like if you got a 5-year-old son that every time you take him over one of your friends' house, he just takes out his little dick and still starts peeing on people's carpet, and your friends are like, why the fuck is your 6-year-old son peeing on my carpet? And you say, oh, give him a break. He's only 6 years old. See, that's you making excuses for your 6-year-old son. Your 6-year-old son should know better than to take out his dick and start peeing on people's carpet. It ain't like he's like 2 or 3 years old and still in diapers. He's fucking 6 years old. He should know better. So that would be you making excuses for your 6-year-old son peeing on your friend's carpets. I don't make excuses for people's fucked up behavior or people's undesirable or disrespectful behavior. I never do that. I never do that. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm thirsty. Where's my drink? Gotta take another swig. But yeah, I don't. And again, I challenge somebody to point out a time when you've heard me make excuses or offer justifications for women's undesirable behavior and or disrespectful behavior towards men. And even more specifically, black women's undesirable or disrespectful behavior towards men. I don't offer excuses or justifications. Again, what I offer is a motivational analysis. In other words, I try to offer a why. W-H-Y. Why. A why for why women do what they do. I don't make excuses for it, but I will say I believe women exhibit X, Y, Z behavior because of this motivation. Like I did again with the cheating thing on that radio show. I didn't offer an excuse or justification, but I offered a motivational analysis for why women cheat. Which was the question, why women cheat? Why do women cheat? The question wasn't, should women be excused for cheating or given a pass for cheating? It was, why do women cheat? I answered the why. That's what offering a motivational analysis does. I look for motives for men and women's behavior. Motives for why they do what they do and say the things that they say. So again, I would challenge anybody who tries to suggest, including the Grim Reaper, who tries to suggest that I make excuses. But again, that's beside the point, because he said that that's why we got into a shouting match, was because I was offering excuses for, but that wasn't, he's lying. Again, he's a liar. That wasn't the reason why we got into a shouting match. It was because I told him that I didn't want to talk about black female fuckery on my YouTube channel. I told him he was free to talk about it on his YouTube channel, but I didn't want to talk about it on my YouTube channel. Now, I'm going to play this next clip that's going to be very interesting, given what I just said. Remember I did a video, I think it was 2 or 3 videos ago, where I said some people will call themselves criticizing me or insulting me, when in actuality, it's something I had already said about myself. I always find it interesting. A quick example would be if somebody says, I think Alan Roger Currie comes across a lot of times as egotistical, narcissistic, or boastful, when I've already said on my own YouTube channel that I have a tendency to sometimes come across as egotistical, narcissistic, and boastful. So that's not really a criticism, because I've already said that about myself. Check out what the Grim Reaper has to say.
So in a lot of ways, Alan Roger Currie is out of his depth. He's right to say that he's not a social worker or a psychotherapist. That's true. It's also true that he shouldn't be talking about shit like this. I'm talking about black female fuckery here. He should stick to what he considers to be dating coaching.
What he considers to be dating coaching. Now I find that an interesting comment. What he considers to be dating coaching. Now, you just listen to that. Let me play it just one more time so you can absorb the full impact of what he just said.
So in a lot of ways, Alan Roger Currie is out of his depth. He's right to say that he's not a social worker or a psychotherapist. That's true. It's also true that he shouldn't be talking about shit like this. I'm talking about black female fuckery here. He should stick to what he considers to be dating coaching.
Insert dog face here.
Got it. Got it. Oh.
I don't know if you guys been paying attention to this whole drama, this recent drama between he and I. But do you understand how ridiculous that statement is? Let me give a recap. When he did his last interview with me, the thing that set him off, that made him have this reaction.
Stop!
Obsidian.
Stop!
Obsidian.
That's your
ARCD. Yo!
Stop!
Yo!
Stop!
Yo!
What?
Yo, hold it down. Yo, Obsidian.
The thing that made him have that reaction was what he just said. I simply told him, I said, black female fuckery is your thing. Quit trying to draw me into discussions and debates that center around black female fuckery. Because I have no interest in talking about that subject. That's your thing. That's your mantra. That's your shit. I said, I don't want to talk about this shit. And then he went off what I just played for you. But yet, in this commentary, that's what he basically said. He said Alan Roger Currie shouldn't be talking about black female fuckery. He basically tried to suggest that that's above my intellectual pay grade, which is ridiculous. Like I don't have the intellectual depth to talk about. I had the intellectual depth to talk about just about anything to do with male and female behavior, particularly as it relates to dating relationships. So he could get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. I would wrap circles around the Grim Reaper in terms of intellectual depth. Shit. Please. But yeah, he basically said that I shouldn't be talking about black female fuckery. I should just stick to talking about dating coaching. But the irony of that is that's exactly what I told him. That's exactly what I told him. That's what set him off. That's exactly what I told him. I said, dude, black female fuckery, that's your shit. Again, if you listen to the clip where he's saying stop, 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 you can hear me say, that's your mantra, motherfucker. That's what I told him. I said, that's your shit. And he basically confirmed that himself with this comment. I'm going to play it one more time.
So in a lot of ways, Alan Roger Currie is out of his depth. He's right to say that he's not a social worker or a psychotherapist. That's true. It's also true that he shouldn't be talking about shit like this. I'm talking about black female fuckery here. He should stick to what he considers to be dating coaching.
Hey, Grim Reaper, you're going to get a full agreement from me. I agree with you. I have no interest in talking about black female fuckery. That's your shit. If that's what makes you money, that's what tickles your fancy every day, be my guest. You got the legal right to talk about that from now until the time you take your last breath. I have no issue with you talking about that on your YouTube channel. I've never had an issue with you talking about that on your YouTube channel. What I have an issue with is you consistently trying to draw me into discussions and debates that either directly or indirectly deal with black female fuckery. That's my issue with you. It's not that you talk about it on your YouTube channel, but that you always trying to draw me into discussions and debates about that stupid shit. And you just confirmed it yourself. That's the most interesting thing. By you making that comment, you just confirmed my point. Exactly. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you doing that. I really do. I appreciate you saying that. Because that's what you said about me is what I've been trying to tell you for like the last year. I have no interest in engaging in no discussions and debates that deal with the subject of black female fuckery. I don't give a fuck about that whiny, complaining bullshit. That's your shit, man. That's your shit. Just like I told you on your show. That's your shit. That's your shit. That ain't my shit. I'm a dating coach. I'm about helping motherfuckers get laid. That's what I'm about. I'm about helping motherfuckers get laid. And secondly, I'm about helping men prevent themselves from wasting time and money with those women who ultimately are never going to give them any pussy. And I'm going to state what I stated a few videos ago to all of you all. This is not just towards the Grim Reaper. I'm talking to all of you all. Here's a simple deal with women's behavior, man, as far as their desirable behavior versus their undesirable behavior. Women are always going to exhibit whatever behavior the laws of the land permit them to. Let me repeat that. Women and men. It's not just women, that's men too. Men and women are always going to behave, number one, the behavior that the laws of the land permit them to. That's fact number one. Secondly, men and women are always going to exhibit the behavior that the individual members of the opposite sex that they deal with in their personal lives and social lives allow them to get away with. Period. I don't know what's hard to understand about that. And that's why I tend to refer to all these discussions about the flaws and weaknesses of women's behavior as whining and complaining. Because you ain't going to change shit. Women are always going to continue to exhibit whatever behavior that the laws of the land allow them to get away with. And they're going to always continue to exhibit whatever behavior the individual men in their lives allow them to get away with. End the story. And this, I mean, to me, there's really no discussion beyond that. There's really no discussion beyond that. There's really no discussion beyond that. I find it interesting. You got all these men criticizing women for what they call dick policing, which is scrutinizing, criticizing, and passing judgment on men's choices of sex partners, when you got a lot of men, such as the Grim Reaper and his followers, that do the same thing with women. They pussy policing. They want to criticize women for dick policing, but they pussy policing. And some of you other motherfuckers out here, y'all pussy policing. Y'all always scrutinizing, criticizing, passing judgment on the men that women choose to fuck. Women gonna fuck who they want to fuck. How many times have y'all heard me say that on this YouTube channel? That's the first reality of women. Women gonna fuck who they want to fuck. I don't care if they got a ring on their finger. They gonna fuck who they want to fuck. If a woman can have a big ass diamond ring, but guess what? If I come along on the right day at the right time and get that woman's pussy wet, my dick is gonna end up in her mouth, her pussy, or both. Believe that shit. Because it's happened to me dozens of times. Dozens of times. Y'all know my history. I can't tell you how many married women, engaged women, and women who had boyfriends that was coming on my dick and sucking my dick and swallowing my cum. Women gonna fuck who they want to fuck. Period. Jordan Peterson talking about enforced monogamy. Women gonna fuck who they want to fuck. Just like men gonna fuck who they want to fuck. If the right woman gets their dick hard on the right day at the right time, they gonna fuck that woman. Or at least let her suck her dick or something. Get a hand job from the chick. I don't know why y'all trying to fool yourselves, man. It's just like when I interviewed Hill Harper, well-known actor and author. And speaking of times, one of the few times I did talk specifically about the black dating scene, I did that about 3 to 5 times on my Blog Talk Radio show. I had about maybe 3 to 5 episodes where I did specifically have an episode where I talked about specific. Normally, I talk about dating relationships in general, but there were about at least 3 times, as many as 5 times, where I had episodes on my old Blog Talk Radio show that were specifically more so targeted towards my black audience, the black members of my listening audience. One was my second interview with Hill Harper. And here's what he said. I mentioned this before. I asked him, I said, Hill, what would you say, in your opinion, is the biggest problem with today's dating scene, and more specifically, the black dating scene? And I don't remember his exact words, so I'm going to be paraphrasing, but essentially what he said the biggest problem in the dating scene is nobody wants to hook up with somebody that's on their own level. You know how people like to rank people on that scale from 1 to 10. You either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. Well, I'll use that scale, even though I don't think Hill Harper used that scale, but I'll use that scale. Basically, in so many words, what Hill Harper said, he said, the problem you have in society as far as dating relationships is most of the men who are 4s, 5s, and 6s don't want to hook up with women who are 4s, 5s, and 6s. They want to hook up with women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s. And same with the women. Most of the women who are 4s, 5s, and 6s don't want to hook up with men who are 4s, 5s, and 6s. They want to hook up with men who are 8s, 9s, and 10s. And he basically said, anytime you have members of both genders having that type of ultra-selective, or what many would refer to as hypergamous nature about them, he said, you're going to have a fucked up dating scene. Plain and simple. He said, you're going to have a fucked up dating scene. And I agree with him. I wholeheartedly agree with him. You are, man. Anytime you get, I don't like to use this term, out of your league. I really don't. But just for argument's sake and for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and use that term. Anytime you got a lot of men that are trying to only hook up with women that are essentially out of their league, and you got a lot of women who are essentially trying to hook up with men who are out of their league, the end result is you're going to have a lot of lonely people. You're going to have a lot of romantically and sexually frustrated people. Period. Period. End of story. You have anytime you got a whole bunch of members of each gender trying to hook up with members of the opposite gender that, for lack of a better way of putting it, that are out of their league, you're going to have a bunch of people who are lonely and romantically and sexually frustrated. And even if they are getting some degree of sexual companionship, they're going to feel like that person is not up to their standards. They're going to feel like that person is not up to their standards. What have I always said about men who whine and complain about women? I said men who whine and complain about women are typically two types of guys. It's guys who ain't getting no pussy at all. They doing nothing but jacking off. Or it's guys who might be getting some pussy, but the quality of pussy they getting and or the quantity of pussy they getting is not up to their standards or their preference. I would make that assessment on a Grim Reaper. And of course, I know he would vehemently deny that, but I would make the assessment on Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper, I know for a fact, he does have at least one sex partner that he refers to as his lady friend. But I guarantee you, he ain't satisfied with the quality of his lady friend. No, he ain't. I know by his commentary, he ain't satisfied with the. She's somebody he's settled for. Either she doesn't have the face that he really wants on a woman. She doesn't have the body that he really wants on a woman. She might have one or more kids. She might have a history of promiscuity. And I don't know, whatever else that disappoints him. But she's not up to his standards. She's just somebody to pass the time with. She's not up to his standards. She's not his ace preference, his number one preference in a woman. I know that for a fact. I can tell just listening to his commentary. His lady friend is not up to that. That's not his ideal woman. That's a woman that he's settled for. And that's why he's frustrated. Just like a lot of his followers. The ones who are getting pussy, they ain't satisfied with the quality of women they fucking, or at minimum, they ain't satisfied with the quantity of women they fuck. Because if I'm telling you right now, and I've said this multiple times before, if you're a heterosexual man and you're completely satisfied with the quality of your sex partners and you're completely satisfied with the quantity of your sex partners, you're never going to be bitching about women, ever. I guarantee you won't. I guarantee you won't. You ain't going to ever be bitching about women. If you're satisfied with both the quality and the quantity of your sex partners, you're never going to be bitching about women. You're never, ever, ever going to be bitching about women. Only motherfuckers who bitch about women is motherfuckers who ain't getting no pussy at all. It's been a long time, like literally years since they last had some pussy. Or again, guys who might be getting some pussy, but it ain't quite the quality and or quantity that they want. Believe that shit. You know, here's my final, then I'm definitely going to wrap up. You know what the deal is with a lot of men? A lot of men, I always say this, a lot of men, they always want to talk about the differences between men and women, but they don't want to talk about the similarities. That's the most interesting thing I find about men. Men don't like to talk about the similarities. They love to talk about the differences. And I was saying, for argument's sake, women are probably the same way. There's a lot of similarities between men and women. And this goes back to what I was talking about men and women's hypergamous nature. Here's the deal. When it comes to short-term non-monogamous sex, men and women are more similar than they are different. I guarantee you they are. When it comes to short-term non-monogamous casual sex, men and women are actually more similar to each other than they are different. How so? When it comes to men's desire to have casual sex, they want a woman that's generally good-looking, sexy, feminine, kinky, and submissive. Good-looking, sexy, feminine, kinky, and submissive. That's number one thing almost all men want in a female sex partner, particularly, more specifically, a casual sex partner. Same with men. I mean, I just talked about men. Same with women. When it comes to a casual sex partner, this is what most women want. There's exceptions here and there, but this is what most women want. They want a guy that's reasonably good looking, that's sexy, that's very masculine, that's very kinky, and that's erotically dominant. They want a man that's good looking, sexy, masculine, kinky, and dominant. They're pretty much just the same, man. They're pretty much just the same. Where both members of both gender tend to change, modify their criteria when it comes to a long-term relationship. I'll start with men. Now, when it comes to a more long-term relationship, such as a long-term girlfriend or wife material, Here's where the criteria changes somewhat. Men want a woman that's loyal. They want a woman that's loyal. They want a woman who they feel is going to be loyal and faithfully monogamous to them. They don't want a woman that has a history of too much promiscuity. And they want a woman that they feel is going to be good with children. That's going to be a good mother to children. So that's the change in criteria for men when it comes to a long-term female partner. Same with women. Women's criteria changes when they're looking for a long-term partner. When it comes to looking for a long-term partner, women want a guy that's also going to be faithful, that's going to be loyal to them and faithful to them. So in that way, they're similar to men. They want a guy who's going to have a high degree of career success and financial stability, who's going to take care of them financially. In that way, they're different from men. They emphasize money more when it comes to long-term partner. That's one thing where women change. When it comes to long-term partner, the emphasis on looks and sex appeal goes down, and the emphasis on career success and financial success goes up. Again, the emphasis on looks and sex appeal goes down, and the emphasis on career success and financial success goes up. And they want a guy who's very entertaining, who's going to provide them with high quality, non-sexual companionship, meaning that he's very flattering, he's very entertaining, he's emotionally empathetic, he's very accommodating, and to a lesser extent, good with kids. So men and women are similar. They have their little minor differences, nuanced differences, but they're generally similar. Their criteria for casual sex partners is totally different than their criteria for long-term partners and marital spouses. They're very similar in that regard. Again, like women don't care about career success and financial success when it comes to casual sex. That's where most men make their mistake. A lot of men think that women care about career success and financial success when it comes to casual sex. No, they don't. I've been flat broke and I fucked hundreds of women. Flat broke. When it comes to casual sex, women don't give a fuck about how much money you make. They don't. They really don't. They don't give a fuck about how much money you make for casual sex. For casual sex, they want you to be good looking, reasonably good looking, seductive and sexy as hell, dominant, masculine, and kinky. That's what they want out of you when they want you to be just a fuck buddy. They don't care about how much money you make. Again, man, I can name times I've been flat broke and was fucking H, 9s, and 10s, casually. Now, when it came to long-term relationship, I've had a lot of women reject me because I wasn't making enough money. I've told y'all at least a couple of women in my life who rejected me for a long-term relationship because they said I wasn't making enough money. Yeah. So career success and financial success is important to women when it comes to long-term relationship or marriage, but for casual sex, they could give a fuck. Women could give a fuck. Anyway, this video went way longer than I anticipated. I might come back with one more video before the 10th. Maybe I might come back with 2 more videos if I'm being generous. I'm going to come back with at least 1 more video, if not 2 more videos between now and July 9th. But like I said, starting with July 10th, I won't be doing any free videos for the last 3 weeks of July. I won't be doing any free videos. I'll only be doing Patreon exclusive videos. So keep that in mind. Again, I have a Patreon exclusive video live stream today at 4 o'clock Eastern. If you're a Patreon subscriber, try to join me. Take care. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1. Mode 1. Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice. how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.